Good evening, dear friends. Tonight is Monday, October the 13th, and we are in Proverbs Part 2 tonight. So, those of you that were here last week for the start of our study in Proverbs, we went over the outline. We talked about Proverbs being the third in the 5 books of poetry, written early in Solomon's reign. Remember that Solomon was King David's son, and he was the last king under the united kingdom of Israel before everything fell apart under Solomon's son. And if you remember about Solomon's life, he asked God for wisdom when he was a young man taking over the throne. And God granted him wisdom. God said, because you asked for wisdom more than, and you didn't just ask to be rich and famous or whatever. God's like, I'm going to give it all to you. And he did. And Solomon, the people that even were outside of his kingdom, we saw that, specifically like with the Queen of Sheba, they were impressed, to say the least, when they saw how God blessed Solomon and the people of Israel because he followed God and asked for wisdom. Now, and we'll talk more about this next time when we, in a couple weeks, when we get to Ecclesiastes and Song of Solomon. We'll talk more about Solomon's wives and how they turned his heart. And that was kind of a big thing later, and especially in Solomon's life. But God did give Solomon great wisdom, and this book is mostly Solomon's writings, and they are, if you look under, a number under theme and characters, 3b, the word proverb means to be like, and it's a book of comparisons between common concrete images and life's most profound truths. So they're basically simple moral statements that teach fundamental realities about life. And we talked about how the wise and the fools are contrasted all the time throughout Proverbs. We talked about simple people. Simple people are talked about a lot in Proverbs. Do you guys remember what we talked about was simple? Who wants to tell me what a simple person is?
Ignorant.
Very good. Yeah. Someone that's easily swayed. Someone who's maybe naive in something and just kind of, gullible, follows along with whatever, just whoever's in front of them, they'll just follow them, because they're right there. Not using the brains that God gave them, you know what I mean? Common sense and all of that. They'll just kind of blindly just follow. And so we'll see that even more today. There's a lot of tidbits in this book that we're going to look at tonight specifically. Now, our theme verse is Proverbs 1 verse 7, which is, turn the page, the fear of the Lord is the foundation of true knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. Proverbs 1:7. And in the chat, Susan said foolhardy. That's a good word to describe a simple person. We also talked about in Proverbs chapter 8, if you're on the back page of your outline, how Christ is seen. Jesus Christ is wisdom personified. So you could take Proverbs chapter 8 and everywhere it says wisdom, you could just replace that word with Jesus' name. And you can see all of that. And we'll look at that a little bit more when we go to chapter 8. We talked through this extra handout called Where's Jesus in Proverbs? That you can read. That was put out by a gentleman that wrote this for the Gospel Coalition. And so you can look at that. Now, the outline of the book, kind of in general, divides it into thirds. So the first third is counsel for young men or young people, right? And then counsel for everybody. Proverbs 11 through 20, and then counsel for kings and rulers at the end. Now, just because we may not fit into a certain category, we're not a king or ruler, but that doesn't mean that those things that the book of Proverbs says in those chapters do not apply to us. And those are obviously just kind of overarching themes throughout those chapters. So we talked through chapter 1 a little bit last week. So let's dive back in. So like we did in Psalms, we're going to go directly to the book and let's talk through some of these wise sayings. And we're going to pause occasionally and discuss some of these things. Okay? So Proverbs chapter 2. Proverbs 2. My child, listen to what I say and treasure my commands. Tune your ears to wisdom and concentrate on understanding. So that verse, when it's talking about tuning, obviously I'm a musician, so I think about tuning in, to something like that. When I tune a piano, I do know how to do that. It's a strange thing that I know how to do. Good. But I have my app, I have my app and everything, and it's really the easiest way to tune a string that's out is to make it way out of tune and then bring it in, and then you get it right to the sweet spot. And when you it's kind of one of these things that when you tune it perfectly, you can actually hear, if your ear is paying attention, you can actually hear overtones playing. Like it's this whole like scientific thing. It's really cool. And a piano tuner of our church when I was young, well, I was a young adult, but he was teaching me some of this stuff because he would come in and tune the piano, and I would just learn from him. Wow. And he was like, listen to this, see if you can hear it. And he would put it out just slightly, and then he'd bring it in. He says, see if you can tell right when it gets in a perfect tune. Mm-hmm. And I could, and it was really cool. Now you can't do that on the extremes of the piano because those you have to just go by what the thing says, because you can't hear it necessarily on the extremes. But tuning in to that thing, when your ears are tuned into wisdom, you won't have to ask if something is right or wrong, because you'll know. Does that make sense? Yes. Because the Lord will tell you that. And typically, by the way, side note, if you're questioning whether you should do something or whether this is appropriate or not, more often than not, you should probably err on the side of caution in those situations. Verse 3. Cry out for insight and ask for understanding. Search for them as you would for silver. Seek them like hidden treasures. Then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord, and you will gain knowledge of God. For the Lord grants wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He grants a treasure of common sense to the honest. He is a shield to those who walk with integrity. He guards the path of the just and protects those who are faithful to him. Then you will understand what is right, just, and fair, and you will find the right way to go. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will fill you with joy. Wise choices will watch over you, and understanding will keep you safe. So, the simple person doesn't tune into wisdom, doesn't cry out for understanding. They don't try to learn what they should do. They just kind of blindly follow along, right? But the Lord says that if you want to be wisdom and you want to have insight and understanding and know what to do, ask God, right? Isn't that what James says? Yep. Because God is the one that is the author of all of that, and he's the one that will grant it to you. Jump down to verse 20. Follow the steps of good men. So in between there, it's talking about the immoral woman, by the way, is brought up several times in Proverbs. Verse 19, the man who visits her is doomed. He will never reach the paths of life. Wow. Follow the steps of good men instead. So don't go down that path. Stay on the paths of the righteous, for only the godly will live in the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. But the wicked will be removed from the land, and the treacherous will be uprooted. It's an interesting promise. Proverbs 3, my child, never forget the things I've taught you. Store my commands in your heart, and if you do this, you will live many years, and your life will be satisfying. Never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Tie them around your neck as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Then you will find favor with both God and people, and you will earn a good reputation. And then, I think we all probably know Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, right? A lot of people have these as their life verse. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. In King James says, in all your ways acknowledge him.
Yes.
Then NLT says, seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. This is right where we are as a church, isn't it? This is what the elders are doing right now.
Yep.
I love how the language in this translation. Verse 7. Don't be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear the Lord and turn away from evil. Then you will have healing for your body and strength for your bones.
It's funny you mentioned that, because my version here says, do not be wise in your own eyes. But then you think of that verse, and it says, everybody did what they thought was wise in their own eyes.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. And that's stated over and over again. I mean, throughout the book of Judges, I think specifically I'm thinking of, in those days there was no king in Israel, and everybody did what was right in their own eyes, Doing right in your own eyes is probably not the way to go most of the time, because we're full of
the world.
We without the Lord guiding us, we're not going to make the right choice. We're just not. Verse 9, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the best part of everything you produce. The first fruits, the Old Testament says. Not giving God your leftovers. The first part, the best part. Then he will fill your barns with grain, and your vats will overflow with good wine. Those are really good verses to teach someone about giving.
Yep.
Verse 11, my child, don't reject the Lord's discipline, and don't be upset when he corrects you. For the Lord corrects those he loves, just as a father corrects a child in whom he delights. By the way, people that don't ever discipline their children don't love them the way that they should. Because love corrects. Love guides. Right? We could go off on that for a minute.
Yep.
Verse 13, joyful is the person who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. For wisdom is more profitable than silver, and her wages are better than gold. Wisdom is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Why do you think that is? Why is wisdom so precious?
Well, it's not easy to come by, that's for sure.
It's not easy to come by. Good. People aren't just born with it, right?
Correct. Yes, that's true.
It keeps your life it keeps it safe in a lot of ways,
Keeps your
because you
life
don't
safe.
go down the wrong path and crumble with all the results of what
You can think of
you've
it
chosen.
as, like guardrails. If you're driving on the
Bumper
side of
guards.
the mountain, you feel good when that guardrail is there to protect you from falling off the cliff, right?
True.
What else? Anything else? Why is wisdom precious?
Wisdom is really, it brings you closer to God, because if you're following his precepts, he's the one who's all wise.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Good. We're going to skip, portions of this. We don't have time to read every single verse. All right. So farther down in chapter 3, in verse 21, he's talking about to the children, don't lose sight of common sense and discernment. Hang on to them, okay? So jump to verse 24. You can go to bed without fear. You will lie down and sleep soundly. You need not be afraid of sudden disaster or the destruction that comes upon the wicked, for the Lord is your security. He will keep your foot from being caught in a trap. So when we are trusting in the Lord, we can trust him to do his job. And we can go to sleep without fear. We talked about that in Psalms. What time I am afraid, I will trust in you. Verse 27, do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it's in your power to help them. It's a good verse. Do what's right, especially by other people. Chapter 4, my children, listen when your father corrects you. Pay attention and learn good judgment. By the way, the book of Proverbs has a lot of action verbs.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just, sit back and absorb everything, right? Action verbs, listen, pay attention, learn. And then there's going to be a whole lot more that we're going to see as we go. Verse 4, my father taught me, take my words to heart. Follow my commands and you will live. God says that a lot in the Old Testament, for sure. Verse 7, getting wisdom is the wisest thing you can do.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
And whatever else you do, develop good judgment.
Mm.
So, if you want to be wise, get wisdom. It's the wisest thing you can do. It's like one of those using the definition to define the word, right?
Yes.
Verse 13, take hold of my instructions, don't let them go. Guard them, for they are the key to life. Don't do as the wicked do, and don't follow the path of evildoers. Don't even think about it. Don't go that way. Turn away and keep moving. We've talked about that before, in the story of Joseph, and Pastor Andrew alluded to that yesterday. Get out of there. He was a good example of this. Don't go that way. Get out. Turn away. Keep moving.
Flee.
Right?
Flee.
Flee. Flee. Verse 18, the way of the righteous is like the first gleam of dawn, which shines ever brighter until the full light of day.
That's
But
pretty.
the way of the wicked is like total darkness. They have no idea what they're stumbling over. That's interesting.
Yep.
They're doing all these things that they think is fun and whatever, but they don't even know
The consequences.
the consequences that what they're doing leads to death. And we're going to see more verses about that. Verse 23 is one of the most important verses, I think, in Proverbs. And this is exactly what Pastor Andrew was preaching about yesterday. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. If your heart is not guarded, Steve Green sang that song, Guard Your Heart. And it goes right along with the message yesterday, that we have to be so careful. And it's not obviously not just, sexual sin or adultery, but it can be anything.
Yeah.
It can be greed. It could be status. It could be covetousness. I mean, all sorts of things that it could be.
Pride.
Pride. Verse 27, don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil. Stay on the right path. Proverbs 5:21, for the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining every path he takes. That's kind of one of those scary verses.
Yeah.
God sees it all.
Yep. Hears it all.
He sees it all. He hears it all.
Yep.
All of that. Chapter 6, verse 6. Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. Learn from their ways and become wise.
Yep.
So here's what ants do. Okay? Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter. But you, lazy bones, how long will you sleep? When will you wake up? A little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber. They have, fables about this topic, right? The one I can't even remember what that story is, but The one, it's basically this exact same thing. The one just wants to hang out and do nothing, right? And then the other one is doing what they're supposed to do, and then the one stuck out in the snow with, nothing, whatever, and they're like, help,
Yeah.
I remember maybe it's not a popular fable, but I remember I had this set of 3 books, and they each had a different thing, and one of them was that very lesson. And this was, not a Christian book. This is just,
There's a grasshopper in the end.
the grasshopper and the ant. Yes.
That's what it was.
Yes. So it wasn't actually an ant. I wonder where they got that story from.
Really?
But yeah. I always think of when we talked about Patch the Pirate. There's one that we would always sing, rise and shine, lazy sleepy head. Get those lazy bones out of the bed. That one. Yeah.
Can I make a
Of
funny
course.
comment? When our kids were preschoolers, they were just toddlers, we were walking a dirt road in Zephyr Hills, and there was an ant colony. It was like up to their knees. It had been right in the middle of the road, at this dirt road.
Wow.
So I said, here's a chance to teach this to the kids. So I told them about these verses.
Yeah.
And Renee, the oldest, leaned in and she goes, wow, they must all be moms.
They must all be mom. That's
Mom
that's
ants.
valid.
Wow.
Which means
With all
that
sincerity,
you, as a mama,
was blessed.
we're not lazy bones sitting around. You were doing your work like
They
you
are
should.
amazing, though. The ants,
To
the way they
watch, yeah.
build everything.
Yeah,
It's,
and they can carry so much more than their body weight
Yes.
and all the things.
Yep.
Crazy.
yep.
Verse 16.
Yes.
There are 6 things the Lord hates. No, 7 he detests. Detests. Haughty eyes, lying tongue, hands that kill the innocent, a heart that plots evil, feet that race to do wrong, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who sows discord in the family. My son, obey your father's commands and don't neglect your mother's instruction. Keep their words always in your heart, tie them around your neck. When you walk, their counsel will lead you, and when you sleep, they will protect you. When you wake up, they will advise you, for their command is a lamp and their instruction a light. Their corrective discipline is the way to life. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is a really important chapter, especially for young men. Being aware and careful about women, specifically immoral women who want to chase you. And he says right in verse 1, follow my advice, my son. Always treasure my commands. Obey my commands and live. Guard my instructions as you guard your own eyes. Tie them on your fingers as a reminder and write them deep within your heart. And then he goes on and talks about the naive young man who can be seduced by the brash woman. It talks about all of the things that she can do and say to get him to sin. And in verse 21, so she seduced him with her pretty speech and enticed him with her flattery. He followed her at once, like an ox going to the slaughter. He was like a stag caught in a trap, awaiting the arrow that would pierce its heart. He was like a bird flying into a snare, little knowing that it would cost him his life.
I'm sorry, but I just don't think feet are pretty.
It's so important. That was one thing that Kendall and I really talk to our kids a lot about, especially young people. Guys, it's so rare these days that young people are pure when they get married. It's so rare.
Yeah.
And we've surprised some people that when they heard that Julian and Jake got married, they're like, they're having their wedding now. Well, yes, but they they got married in October. They're just celebrating now. Well, why didn't they just wait to get married? Because they were moving to Lakeland. So they did it God's way and got married before they consummated their marriage and lived together in that way. And people are like, huh? You know, society doesn't understand that. And we had very intentional conversations with the kids. I took the kids through the entire Bible. We didn't leave anything out. You know, we read the entire Bible together. And you know, when, especially in the New Testament, when Paul is talking about sexual sin and things like that in Corinthians, you know, it talks about how no other sin so harms the body as that. And so we talked about how it's not just something that is a simple thing that you just, you know, yes, God will forgive you, and that's not what it means, but it affects your entire being, your soul, and everything. And young people need to understand this kind of situation like this, especially when it's something like, even probably, I don't know if there's degrees of it being worse, but in this situation, like, he didn't even really know her, right? This was just like a proposition type of a situation. But it's, you know, so anyway, I feel really strongly about all of that, because it's so rare in our society anymore. And you know, and it's so funny because, you know, my son he's just so wonderful, and he doesn't have a girlfriend or anything right now, and he's 19, and, you know, whatever, he has plenty of time. But like, we were all together last weekend at a football game, and I was joking with Jake and Julianne, because there was these cute little girls. They were twins, like 2 rows in front of us, and it was like, okay, guys, after your ceremony, because you had to fit into the dress, and when you don't need to fit into the dress anymore, you know, anytime you want to, you know, start working on grandkids for me, I'm okay with that, because I can't wait to buy, you know, cute little things, you know, for them or whatever. And we were joking, and Jake goes, well, it won't be for lack of trying. That's what I'm, you know. And he kind of made an offhand, you know, he was joking. And my son goes, alrighty then, I'm just gonna go over here. And he like got up and left, you know, because he like gets so uncomfortable. But he was raised to be that way, you know. So anyway, that was totally just a side comment. But it's so critical for our young people to understand that there's certain, all sin is sin in God's eyes, but certain sin has way bigger consequences than others.
It seems like the couples that get married these days, they think, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll just get a divorce. I mean, that's how they think.
Yeah.
And that's sad. Because, you know.
Divorce is very easy these days.
Yeah. But what God has put together, you know.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yes.
It's hard. And I mean, we've all been, you know, young and in those situations, and it's hard to make the right choice sometimes. Isn't
Yes.
it? It's hard.
Yep.
All right. Chapter 8. When we talk about chapter 8, remember, this is how Jesus is seen as wisdom. And so you could go through this entire chapter. Listen as Jesus calls out. If you want to substitute Jesus for the word wisdom. And remember, when wisdom is personified in this, it uses female pronouns, but that doesn't mean that it's a female. It's kind of like, you know, when they talk about the boat or something, like a lot of things are like, you guys don't understand what I'm trying to say. They'll say she, but that doesn't mean that it's a she. Does that make sense?
Somebody talks about their truck.
Yes, or their truck or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah. Go jump down to verse 10. Choose my instruction rather than silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is far more valuable than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with it. So there we have again showing the importance and beauty of wisdom. Verse 13. What's that?
I was going
Oh.
to say Jesus is more
Yes.
precious than rubies.
Yes, exactly. Verse 13, all who fear the Lord will hate evil. Therefore, I hate pride and arrogance, corruption and perverse speech. Verse 17, I love all who love me, and those who search will surely find me. Isn't that true of Jesus?
Yeah.
Verse 22, the Lord formed me from the beginning, before he created anything else. I was appointed in ages past, at the very first, before the earth began. And it goes on from there. But you guys remember...
Psalm 139.
Yeah, Psalm 139, but John chapter 1, Jesus is the creator.
Yes.
In the beginning was the Word, capital W, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
The Word was with God and the Word was God. Verse 34, joyful are those who listen to me, watching for me daily at my gates, waiting for me outside my home.
Wow.
For whoever finds me finds life.
Yep.
And receives favor from the Lord. But those who miss me injure themselves. All who hate me love death. Boy, you see that in our society, don't you?
Wow. Yep.
Yeah. Go to chapter 9, verse 8. Don't bother correcting mockers. They will only hate you. But correct the wise, and they will love you.
Wow.
Guys, correction isn't fun to hear, is it?
No.
When someone brings something to your attention, I think it's true for me. Someone, tells me something that I need to hear. My first response isn't always a warm fuzzy, right? But the wise response is, thank you for loving me enough to point that out, or whatever, Instruct the wise, and they will be even wiser. Teach the righteous, and they will learn even more. This is similar to the key verse. Fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. Knowledge of the Holy One results in good judgment.
Yep.
Wisdom will multiply your days and add years to your life. If you become wise, you will be the one to benefit. If you scorn wisdom, you will be the one to suffer. Chapter 10. The Proverbs of Solomon. A wise child brings joy to a father. A foolish child brings grief to a mother. Boy, that's true. Verse 2, the end of verse 2 says, right living can save your life. I just have that phrase highlighted. Verse 9, people with integrity walk safely, but those who follow crooked paths will slip and fall. Verse 11, the words of the godly are a life-giving fountain. The words of the wicked conceal violent intentions. And you guys have probably heard verse 12. Hatred stirs up quarrels or strife, but love makes up for all offenses. Verse 17, people who accept discipline are on the pathway to life, but those who ignore correction will go astray. Verse 19. Too much talk leads to sin. Be sensible and keep your mouth shut.
It's hard for some people to do that.
Oh, my goodness.
We had a friend, sometime we talk, she can just go on and on and on. I mean, she could be talking, I can go make a sandwich and then come back and pick up. I just need to get up.
She didn't even know you were going.
That's right, she just talked away. Like,
And sometimes when you see the person that's calling, you say, "Oh no."
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. Verse 26. Lazy people irritate their employers.
Yeah.
Like vinegar to the teeth or smoke in the eyes. Boy, that's true. Anytime that I've had to manage teams in the past, oh my gosh. Sometimes getting people to do their job can just really irritate you.
Yep.
Chapter 11, verse 12. It is foolish to belittle one's neighbor. A sensible person keeps quiet. A gossip goes around telling secrets, but those who are trustworthy can keep a confidence. Without wise leadership, a nation falls. There is safety in having many advisors. Verse 17, your kindness will reward you, but your cruelty will destroy you. Verse 24, give freely and become more wealthy. Be stingy and lose everything. Chapter 12, verse 1, to learn, you must love discipline. It is stupid to hate correction.
Tough to take sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Verse 4, a worthy wife is a crown for her husband, but a disgraceful woman is like cancer in his bones. Verse 14, wise words bring many benefits, and hard work brings rewards. Fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to others. A fool is quick-tempered, but a wise person stays calm when insulted. That one's hard.
Yep.
An honest witness tells the truth. A false witness tells lies. Some people make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise bring healing. That reminds me of that Toby Mac song, Speak Life. Speak life. 24, work hard and become a leader. Be lazy and become a slave. In verse 28, the way of the godly leads to life. That path does not lead to death. 13:3, those who control their tongue will have a long life. Opening your mouth can ruin everything. Here are several verses about our mouth.
Yeah.
Lazy people want much but get little, but those who work hard will prosper. We've had a lot of those verses already.
Yeah.
Verse 10, pride leads to conflict, but those who take advice are wise. Wealth from get-rich-quick schemes quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows over time. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. Verse 16, wise people think before they act. Fools don't, and even brag about their foolishness. Look what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're an idiot. Walk with the wise, verse 20. Walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble. That's how the book of Psalms starts out. Verse 24. Those who spare the rod of discipline hate their children.
Oh, wow.
Those who love their children care enough to discipline them. We just talked about that.
Yep.
14:1, a wise woman builds her home, but a foolish woman tears it down with her own hands. Verse 6, a mocker seeks wisdom and never finds it, but knowledge comes easily to those with understanding. Verse 7, the first phrase, stay away from fools. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
Verse 12, there is a path before each person that seems right, but it ends in death.
Yeah.
We really have to be careful.
Yep.
Verse 16, the wise are cautious and avoid danger. Fools plunge ahead with reckless confidence. Hey there.
Y'all having fun?
We're in Proverbs tonight.
I heard it. I heard about the ants working. That's Proverbs.
We did our-
The uncles should work too, but it's always the ants.
It's always the ends.
Oh, yeah, all right.
We did our overview last week, and we're just hitting some highlights on verses this week. So.
Yeah, we did something last year with the students. When we get together for our youth group, they start in small groups. And last year they had a proverb each time that they would go through and discuss on the front end.
Oh.
And I did it because at church camp the year before,
Yeah.
Brad had kind of spoke to the students and was talking. He just started rattling off all these proverbs. And I'm like, I don't think they think about the proverbs enough.
Yeah.
And so, you know, things like gossiping and lusting,
Yes.
and, you know, all these different things that we know, but we just like, well, where does it come from? And so, yeah.
I keep hearing Larry Kuz's admonition to us yesterday. I'm thinking, oh, brother, not to be a hearer only, but to be a doer of the word. That's a lot to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot
To
do.
practice, to do it all, you have to know it.
Yeah. I find, though, as you seek the Lord with your whole heart, you can trust your instincts.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I think so many times we kind of overthink the walk sometimes where we feel like, oh, I don't want to mess up. but we don't, I think there's so much freedom in Christ. If we're really purely hearted, devoted to really seeking Him, being mindful of our blind spots, we can at least trust our instincts. And our instincts are going to look different from one another. I think that's the hard part about being in the body is sometimes when someone does it different than you do, it's kind of like, well, is it right? But the diversity of the body is, I think, something that we lose out on because we're so kind of set in how we would have done it.
Yeah.
And yet, there's so much beauty and like God gave us so many colors and so many different species and so many different plants.
Right.
And so for us to think that there's one way of skinning a cat, I mean, that's a bad metaphor.
Takes it back to ninth
Don't-
grade.
Don't pick on kitty cats.
Yeah. But I think I agree, like just, and again, I don't think it's bad per se, but just, it is and it isn't. Like there's one body, but in our context, there's just so many denominations and so many iterations. And just like, I don't know if we're getting this perfectly right here. But
I don't think we will.
I don't know if we will. And it's not because of the Spirit, it's because of us. That's the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I appreciate you ladies. I didn't mean to do a little sermonette, but
Oh, you're good.
blessings.
Good message. Good message this week. Are you still talking on adultery next week?
Adultery now. I've got Pastor Carly's sharing what he learned kind of over his sabbatical.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, the next verses are about divorce. I really think Juan really spoke into marriage
Yeah.
those 3 weeks, and so I think it goes into, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. And so those are some hard hitting texts too, because that's really the heart of relationships. The fact that Jesus used injustice to have the gospel go forth is completely against how we think.
Yeah.
And my suffering is really the way that God chooses to make the gospel go to someone who could take advantage of me. And yet, that's kind of what it says.
I think divorce would be hard to.
What's that?
I think divorce would be hard.
To preach on divorce? Yeah, that's why I'm not doing it.
That's why we gave it one,
If you do talk on adultery again, I thought of a title you could give that sermon.
You know what's that?
And you could put it on the board out by the street.
Yeah.
You'll have high attendance Sunday.
That's
What
it.
Jesus says when a cold play turns into a hot mess.
I will get some responses.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
So where were you?
We're talking about the tub.
Yeah. 14:16 we just read, the wise are cautious and avoid danger, but fools plunge ahead with reckless confidence. I remember when I was a teenager and I heard a sermon, and the gentleman, whoever it was, wherever it was, I don't remember, but I remember he preached on this verse. He was talking about, in fact, in a Bible I had at the time, I even kind of drew this out. Think of it like a cliff, okay? So the wise are cautious and avoid danger, but fools plunge ahead with reckless confidence. So if we're being wise, we're not dancing on the edge of the cliff. We're inland, right?
That guardrail.
It's like when we went to the Grand Canyon when I was a teenager, my brother went up to the, Mom was trying to keep us back, and my brother goes up there, and there was like another part like down below that she couldn't see. She thought it was like the edge, right?
No.
And so he jumped
Oh.
and gave her a total heart attack.
Yes.
And he thought it was hilarious.
I bet.
He's lucky to still be alive.
I was
today.
going to say, I bet he got in trouble.
But
That was
if
that verse.
we're wise, we're going to be cautious about things. We're not just going to recklessly plunge ahead and just do whatever the first thought comes into our head, right? We're obviously not going to get through the whole book tonight, so I want to circle back. I almost paused on verse 1 and then I didn't, but I'm going to circle back to verse 1. I want to talk about verse 1 for a minute. A wise woman builds her home, but a foolish woman tears it down with her own hands. What do you guys think that verse could be talking about?
I think it brings strife into the household.
Mm.
You know?
There's going to be some other verses that we'll
she's
talk
gonna
about
tear
with
it
that.
down.
For
You know,
sure.
instead of bringing unity, you know, if she's fussing and you know, saying bad things and negative things all the time, she's bringing down her house.
Mm. You guys have heard the phrase "happy wife, happy life."
Yes.
That's not just, you know, guys. You know, they joke about that phrase. You know, keep your wife happy so that your life is happy. Well, there's truth to that statement. I'm not saying that, you know, we all need to be pampered and whatever to keep us happy, but you know, as a lot in a lot of homes, and you know, the mother, it's just how God created us to be. The female in the house is the nurturer, the you know, all of kind of those things. And so if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. That has so much truth to it. Because, you know, when my kids were little, there were times that, and the Lord started really speaking into me with this, but there were times when my kids would kind of cringe. And I'd be like, oh, and that would just be like a dagger. Like, okay, so obviously I've responded incorrectly to them more than once for them to have that reaction for me, you know. And I had to talk through that a lot with them because I didn't have a lot of patience. I think with my kids when they were little, and so that was a big growing thing for me. For the Lord to remind me that they're kids, and you know, there's a learning process here. And I have a fantastic relationship with my kids now, but you know, and that has progressed over the years. But what? Okay, I'm talking too much. You guys talk a little bit. I asked the question and then I started talking again.
I had a fear of my father. All he had to do was look at me, and I knew I was in trouble. I mean, you know. But it was good because I respected him because of that. You know? But that was a father, not a mother.
Yeah.
I was confronted with that in my soul different times when I'd be frustrated in the marriage relationship. Something would happen and I would feel frustrated and think, okay, I got a choice to make here. You know, do I respond in a way that's going to build or that's going to continue to tear down or something? So that happens over and over again in a marriage, I think. You have to realize what the consequences are. And I think like what you were talking about, happy wife, happy life, the backside of that is you don't try to coddle a woman so that she can be happy, so that you can receive good, you know, good
Right, because that
environment.
can be used that way.
Yeah, it can be very selfish on a woman's part. But the fact that I get to choose so that my house builds peace and security and love and all those things. I mean, those choices are made over and over and over and over again in relationships.
It says in the Amplified, the wise woman builds her house on a foundation of godly precepts, and her household thrives. The foolish one who lacks spiritual insight tears it down with her own hands by ignoring godly principles.
By ignoring godly principles. There's no such thing as a strong house if those godly principles aren't a part of it.
Yeah, it's got to be built on that.
And I'm thinking like, what are the godly principles that you would, like, what are some specifics on that would, like forgiveness? I mean, you know, being a forgiving person in a household and family, those kind of things. Being trusted. Like if you put specifics, like, am I doing that? You know, I think can hang some.
I think a big one too is listening.
Yeah. Not just doing the talking, figuring that you're right all the time.
Yeah.
And being compassionate too. I mean, that's
Knowing how to have conversations.
yeah.
We were just talking to my daughter on the way here. We called Julianne, and she had gone to dinner with someone she had met, and this young woman, she took her to dinner last night. And I said, "How was your dinner?" She was like, "It was okay." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Mom, she doesn't know how to have a conversation."
Oh.
I'm like, "What do you mean?" the only question she asked me the entire night was when we first got together. She was like, "How are you?" That was it. She did not ask a single question the entire time.
Wow.
I said, how did you have a, she goes, well, I asked her questions, and then she would just talk about herself,
She would answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was hard. Susan put in the chat, nagging and a critical spirit. That's definitely how to tear down your house, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's other verses we're going to come to, that nagging and quarrelsome person.
Holding your tongue's a big thing. I mean, a lot of times things upset you or hit you at the wrong time, the wrong way, and so many times the best thing you can do is just shut up. Don't react. If there's an issue, address it when you're calm, not when you're all upset.
That's what I was thinking too. Something about being quick to anger. I forget what the whole thing is.
Yeah. Yes. That's hard, being quick on the draw.
One of my professors in college, it was on marriage in the Christian home, and she said, and she was probably just in her late 30s, early 40s, and she said, I get so angry at Bill because he just leaves socks everywhere, figuring I'm going to go and pick them up. And she says, I ask him, and he still leaves socks everywhere. So one day, I figured out how long it took me to pick up all his socks. It took me 5 minutes. She said, I guess a happy marriage is worth that 5 minutes. I never talked to him about it again.
That's pretty good insight.
Yeah, pretty profound.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Holding a grudge too doesn't help either.
For sure. My grandmother, who is in heaven now, my dad's mom, she was a very bitter, critical person. She and my grandpa divorced, after, all of us were born. So they were married for a long, long time. And then, they already had grandkids when they got divorced. And he, he's been married to his current wife for like 30 years now, and she's wonderful. But my grandma, you couldn't, anytime you had a conversation with her, she'd be fine at the beginning, and then she'd go right immediately. She would bring every conversation back to my grandpa and what he did to her in her mind, and she just had all this bitterness. And as I grew up, the more that I understood about all these things, I'm thinking, well, the more I know about you, the more I kind of don't blame Grandpa, because you're not a very nice person.
Yeah, she never praised him. She never praised him or anything.
Yeah, no.
Or encouraged him.
Yeah, very hard. Betty said, the fruit of the Spirit, Galatians 5:22 and 23. I was thinking about that too when we were talking about the ideals. Obviously, we want to build our lives on all of those things. You were talking about forgiveness and all of those, but all of those fruits of the Spirit.
Joy, peace, love.
Yeah. And, patience is not easy in a house.
True.
Being gentle is not easy.
No. Faithful.
You're called to be encouragers. I think
Encouragers. That's good.
That's a good one.
That's good. Okay, we're gonna finish through chapter 15. So a few more verses here. Chapter 14, verse 29. People with understanding control their anger. A hot temper shows great foolishness. We just talked about that. 34. Godliness makes a nation great, but sin is a disgrace to any people. In chapter 15, there's a lot of good verses here. Verse 1, a gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare. Boy, that's true. It's like pouring gasoline on the fire, isn't it?
Yes.
Verse 3, the Lord is watching everywhere, keeping his eye on both the evil and the good.
Yeah.
Verse 5, only a fool despises a parent's discipline. Whoever learns from correction is wise. Verse 8, the Lord detests the sacrifice of the wicked, but he delights in the prayers of the upright. Verse 11, even death and destruction hold no secrets from the Lord. How much more does he know the human heart? Verse 16, better to have little with fear for the Lord than to have great treasure and inner turmoil. Verse 22, plans go wrong for lack of advice. Many advisors bring success.
That's the one right up there.
There you go.
Oh,
Yes.
that's cool.
Yes.
Seen that before.
Plans fail when there is no counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. It's on the wall of the church conference room. Verse 28, the heart of the godly thinks carefully before speaking. The mouth of the wicked overflows with evil words. Verse 29, the Lord is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayers of the righteous. You guys ever need motivation to pray? God hears your prayers.
Yep. He answers them too.
And he answers
Yes,
them.
he does.
Verse 31, we talked about this. If you listen to constructive criticism, you will be at home among the wise. If you reject discipline, you will only harm yourself. But if you listen to correction, you grow in understanding. Fear of the Lord teaches wisdom. Humility precedes honor. So, we'll do the second half of Proverbs when I'm back from my trip.
Okay.
So, next week, you guys will have a special treat. Miss Maria is going to share some cool testimonies with you regarding what God has done in her life and people that she knows. So that will be next week for those of you that are here. And then the following week, I will be back, but I won't be teaching. I will just be in attendance. And Maria is going to teach us a lesson. She's going to teach you a lesson.
I'm sure she will.
And then, so the following week after that, I believe will be November. And that's when I'll be back in the saddle and we'll finish up Proverbs. Okay? So let's go ahead and pray.
Please come.
Yeah, so please come. Please come the next 2
Let's
weeks.
say, please come. We're going to have fun.
Yeah.
And you're still going to do the video, the Facebook video?
Yes. Uh-huh.
The plan is she's going to do the Facebook video. So.
I'll bring pizza, so you might want to come in.
She's going to bribe everyone to come.
Okay.
You can bring treats.
That's right, we're bringing treats.
All right, guys, let's pray. Father, we love you so much. We are so thankful for laughter. We're thankful just for your word and how much it speaks to us. I pray that you would just go before us in our families and all the situations that we're dealing with, God, and just help us to remember some of these little phrases from Proverbs that can help us to stop our mouth or to pause before we respond, or how to act in certain situations and what to do and not to do, Lord. That's why your word is here. It's for our instruction and giving us wisdom. So, Lord, I pray that you would just continue to just hide your words in our hearts so that we won't sin against you and that we will be wise and know which path to take in our lives. We love you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Did Israel get their hostages back today?
Yes.
They were supposed to.
Yes.
I didn't know if they